In Redux, we have three pieces: the store, actions, and reducers. Let's explore these one by one. The store is a single JavaScript object that contains the state of the application. You can think of it as a local client-side database. So here we can have properties like the list of messages, number of new messages to be displayed on the navigation bar, whether chat sounds are enabled, and so on. Different views and components use different parts or different slices of the application state depending on their functionality. And this also means if different components need to work with the same slice, there is only one copy of that slice throughout the application. So once a component modifies that slice, the changes are immediately visible to other components. We don't have multiple independent copies. Now, the first question you might have is, wouldn't this consume too much memory? Not really, unless you're storing 10,000 or more objects in this store. And then I would ask you, why would you do that anyway? So for the most part, it's okay to have a single object to store the application state. The second piece is the actions. Actions are plain JavaScript objects that represent something that has happened in the application. So semantically, they're more like events. If you have some background in CQRS architectural style, you should know the difference between commands and events. Commands or actions represent something that should happen, like posting a message, whereas events indicate that something has happened, like a message was posted. Actions in Redux are semantically events. Here are a couple of examples. When the user reads a message, we can represent this event using an action like this. As another example, if the user posts a message, we can have an action like this. So these are simple data structures and don't have any logic. And by convention, we use a type property to specify the type of each action. Now, an action can have additional properties related to the event that just happened. And the last piece, reducer. Now, reducer is a term that often confuses a lot of beginners to Redux. Unfortunately, the terms used in the Redux library are not very helpful. So actions are really events, and reducers can be a little bit confusing to beginners. Now, reducer is basically a function that specifies how the state changes in response to an action. You can think of it as an action handler or an event handler that determines how the state is changed. Now, what is critical here is that the reducer does not modify the state. It only returns the new state. And then the store will internally update the state. So nowhere in the application we're going to directly modify the state. This is the responsibility of the store. It keeps the state and updates it whenever necessary. So these are the building blocks of Redux. Now, these reducers should be pure functions. But what do I mean by pure? Well, that's the topic for the next lecture.